One of Cape Town's biggest housing projects near Delft has been halted, and the contractor has pulled out as a result of the construction mafia. Now, the project was supposed to provide over 3,000 housing units, but now it hangs in the balance. Private security is now being considered to assist in completing the project. At least 10 people have also been killed due to the involvement of the mafia in a number of projects in the Cape Metro. For more now, we are joined by SABC News reporter Vanessa. Poonah. Vanessa, thank you so much for your time. Now, this is a matter that has been on the radar of government and SAPS for quite some time, but we don't see it abating anytime soon. Just talk to us about this particular incident. We do know, of course, just for the benefit of our viewers, that these construction mafia groups are, groups that typically invade construction sites demanding money or demanding some form of stake in development projects. But just talk to us around this particular construction site.
Yes, good afternoon to you. And you mentioned there that groups come in onto construction sites and they use extortion, intimidation. And yes, indeed, in some cases, we've seen extreme violence, murders taking place on various construction sites here in the city of Cape Town. Now, let me just backtrack a bit, because we are talking about housing. You would know that housing is shall we call it a sore point in Cape Town? I mean, the metro is growing year on year, and of course the need for housing is exacerbated by this population growth. We do expect that this particular housing development in Symphony Way in Delft was to by 2026 deliver over 3,000 housing units in that area. And of course the area in Delft, it's surrounded by areas such as Blikkiesdorp, close to Belhar, that of course also adjacent to one of the major arteries, the arterial road in that area. So this project kick-started in 2022. We visited the site this morning, and at the moment, I'm sad to say that not much happening on the site. The bushes have been cleared, there are roads laid in the area, but of course we have not seen any top structures on that site as yet. Now, I'm here at the city of Cape Town, just behind me the Civic Centre, and I'm in conversation at this hour with the mayoral committee member for human settlements, Carl Popheim, to get the latest on what is taking place here and also what the way forward is for the city of Cape Town. We do know that there's also been an extortion hotline launched by the city and other authorities in terms of getting people, ordinary citizens, to call in with any tip-offs regarding issues around extortion, and of course linked to this construction mafia, which makes it very difficult for service delivery in housing, whether it's in housing, whether it's in roads, whether it's in sewage works that the city is taking on. Makes it very hard to deliver those projects on time. Maker member, good afternoon to you, Carl Popheim. We're talking about Delft, we're talking about Symphony Way. Of course, we should have by now seen some more progress with regards to developments there. This has been halted. I know construction was halted a while ago. Take us through the history of what happened at that project.
No, certainly, and thanks, Vanessa, for having me. And as you said, this is something that has found itself in all of the city, but has been profound within human settlements. And Delft Access Symphony Way has been the hallmark of the construction mafia. And as you've stated, in 2022, we launched this project with the intention for it to have a catalytic effect on the Cape Flats, being in a partnership with AXA in the expansion of the airport. It would be the removal of Blikkiesdorp, Freedom Park and Malawi Camp informal settlements within brand new homes. And so we began that journey, and everything went well up until we saw this upsurge in the construction mafia. And it began very simply, where we had intimidation of contractors being asked for extortion fees, and the difficulty was, in many instances, contractors paid that extortion fees. And then it grew and it grew, and it culminated in the death of a city official on the Delft Access site.
That's Wendy Kloppers.
Wendy Kloppers, yes, an environmental health practitioner. And it was at that point that the contractor withdrew from the site, and unfortunately the city of Cape Town was in a difficult position where we had to cancel the contract because we never had a contractor who was willing to work. And so fast forward to when I was appointed 6 months ago, the question was before me, do we abandon this project and we move on? And For me, we could not do that. 3,500 units on the Cape Flats, much needed in terms of economic development for the broader Cape Flats. I said we'll push on. And so it's very proud for me to announce that we have re-embarked on the supply chain management process. We are currently busy with the bid evaluation stage of contractors who have said they're willing to push through, and we are hoping to complete that by the end of this quarter in May, early June. And that will see us rebrand and redesign the Delft Access Simply Way project. But I think, Vanessa, what's important about this is that the city hasn't sat on its laurels. We haven't said that this international phenomenon has found itself in Cape Town, we can't do any houses. We've pushed forward and we've taken some of the biggest steps that South Africa has seen in combating. Number one, we have restricted and blacklisted companies that are linked to the underworld at great risk to personal safety for myself and senior officials in the city of Cape Town. We've put aside 45 million rand for tactical security on these hotspot sites. And in the bigger budget, 45 million rand doesn't look like a lot. But when we look at what the cost of housing is, that is a huge amount of money that we could have spent on more housing sites. But also, we've expanded the scoping of our contracting to increase the value of our contracts, but ensure that private security is now coupled in the contracts, not just having doormen and gatesmen at our sites, but tactical armed security to ensure we can combat this. And I believe that if we can come together collectively, not only as state, but a whole of society, with communities, with contractors, and with other spheres of government, we can combat what simply is just criminals. We mustn't give it fancy names called the construction mafia. These are criminals who roamed our streets for years, and now they want to find a way to make a lot more money through government and still exploit the vulnerable people. And so we are combating, just like countries across the world. Colombia, the US have faced it for many years, and I'm really excited over the next 3 months what we'll tell as we relaunch those projects again, including Delft Symphony Way.
Let us start with the hotline that was launched in terms of, getting that whole of society approach to tackling the issue around extortion, the issue around really delaying the delivery of services to people. What has been the feedback so far? Have there been any positive contributions made to that hotline?
So the mayor has launched that hotline as part of his Enough campaign, where we are taking the conversation directly to the communities involved, because what we find is that these extortionism starts with getting community to uprise around projects and to find favor towards contractors that are aligned to the underworld. And so we've taken it directly to community to say that if you don't work with us and you allow yourselves to be misled, you are going to not benefit at the end of the day. And so we've taken the campaign out, and we have had engagement with communities, but there's a substantial amount of fear. Naturally so, because as I've told you, Vanessa, these underworld figures didn't just come around yesterday. They've been operating in communities, in the drug space, in the racketeering space, so they are known to communities, and so we accept that there is fear. But I think what's important is that if we take such a campaign over various spheres of government to show that, yes, there is violence that could take place, but there is protection within the city. And so we are developing another element where we can show clear mechanisms for protection for communities if they come forward anonymously to give information. But also, the information also needs to be highly credible. It's not helpful to give assertions or to give gossip that is going around in communities. We needed to give us information that can be passed on to our special investigators in safety and security, as well as our partners in SABC, so they can get delved down to it. Because the reality is, in this long chain of extortionism lies the criminal justice system. And the key thing is, outside of the blacklisting, which I believe has had a huge effect, we've relaunched Google Earth Info Housing Project, which was stopped because of the mafia. It is now running. We have landed over houses at Valhalla Park, which has now been successful. So I do think there's a measure of success when we cut off the tap for those individuals, and we also address officials who are working with them, but we also need communities to bring us substantive information so that anonymous line can actually be of greater value.
Let me talk about arrests in connection with this specific housing development firstly, and then we'll talk about what exactly it means to have to redesign an entire concept that has already been done. So it's a duplication of work, and I suppose quite a bit of money lost in the process.
Yeah, so you would have noted in the last 24 months, 12 to 24 months, there's been a lot of talk around human settlements in the city of Cape Town, and I think of course, there has been strong allegations of maladministration or malfeasance, and that exists everywhere in the country. I think the question is, Vanessa, how did we respond? And the city has shown that it has a zero-tolerance approach towards mismanagement. We have suspended, fired officials, politicians who we believe could be connected or shows prima facie evidence within the space, and that has been the position of the executive mayor and myself moving forward. If it means that we need to investigate or fire all 900 officials in human settlements, we should do so, because we are focused on running a clean government. But onto your second point, which is I think the most critical and the most sad in the process, having to restart an entire supply chain management process from a planning stage for a new tender to be drafted. So something, as you say, we were supposed to hand over houses 18 months from now, we are starting what we did in 2022 to draft a new tender, draft new tender specs and put it out to the market. What we are lucky about, as you said, you visited the site, albeit there are bushes that are growing, some civils has been laid, some roads has been done, so we might be able to accelerate the projects once we have a contract awarded. But the difficulty and the sadness is in that supply chain management process, which I'm seeing now in Ottery as well. We just had to cancel a contract because the contractor could not keep up with the pressures externally, and the quickest time I could have turned around for it was 6 months. Somewhere where I was supposed to hand over 30 units in 6 months, I'm now only going to appoint a new contract, and that is unfortunately the implication outside of the violence, outside of the jobs lost. It's not just about houses, Vanessa. 3,500 houses, yes, but thousands of jobs lost to the economy, thousands of families not having economic support, and so it's much bigger the implication of this construction mafia.
We talk about 3,000 something units, and of course let's just assume that there are 3 to 4 people in a household. This means something between 15 and 20,000 people in a city which has seen its population growing year on year. We know that the housing waiting list, for example, is in excess of 600,000. So it is the communities on the ground that are suffering. People living in shacks, people living in sprawling informal settlements, people living in backyards. That has been a huge issue that has been raised time and time again by communities in Cape Town. This issue plagues the city, and of course, it just delays you being able to get, I suppose, making inroads into this huge problem.
I think the issue is critical, but it's not dire. It is affecting specific communities. We can look at Makassar. We are completing our homes there with phase 1. I'm going to, in the next 2 months, hand over homes in Makassar. Same in Salauri's Pass, where you visited late last year with the floods. We are completing the homes there. Same in Philippines, Sheffield. So development is taking place. And the city of Cape Town, and under my leadership, the directorate recognizes that, yes, the BNG agenda, the breaking new ground homes that are state subsidized, needs to continue, and that's why we are restarting these sites. I want to remind the residents of Vanessa that the choice was there to abandon these housing sites. I made it clear that we're not going to do that. But outside of that, the mayor has launched his land release program, where we are looking at other mechanisms to provide affordable housing to residents in the city of Cape Town. Because if we look at the declining financial environment, 130 million rand in grants cut from the city of Cape Town to deliver for those vulnerable people you're referring to. So the city is highly aware. Outside of the mafia, there are other shocks that we need to absorb. And so we've released inner city sites addressing apartheid spatial planning and allocating those sites for social and affordable housing. In the last 3 years, in the first 3 years of Jordan Hill Lewis's term, 4,000 affordable housing units released to the market. In the last 10 years before he was elected, 4,000 houses were developed. I think that speaks volumes to the leadership of the mayor and the Human Settlements Directorate in delivering affordable housing to all residents.
Thank you so much. To us, of course, the MACO member for Human Settlements in the city of Cape Town, Carl Papheim, painting a picture for us on where the city is in terms of that housing delivery, and also the issue around extortion, construction mafia, hampering some of these developments in Cape Town.
All right, Vanessa, Poonah, thank you so much for that comprehensive, picture of construction mafia and, of course, the importance of housing in the Western Cape. Very interesting to hear from that MANCO member, and particularly around the construction mafia, who he has referred to as criminals, saying that they have put tactical teams of armed security at various hotspots across the city of Cape Town in as far as construction mafias are concerned.